I would like to thank Starbond for sponsoring this video. Those of us in the South, or possibly those worldwide, know the familiar sound of duct tape. It fixes everything. Hey, I'm Matt. Today I want to talk to you about the duct tape of woodworking. This is called CA glue or super glue. This stuff is extremely useful and I use it for tons of things in the shop. Let me show you. This stuff's great for minor tool repairs like you see here on this hammer. I've had this hammer forever. It was my father-in-law's hammer and he had it forever before that. You can see the head's a little wiggly on here, the handle's a little bit cracked, but I use it around the shop, not for heavy duty stuff, but for some light stuff, and I don't want to get rid of it. It has sentimental value, so I was able to repair that with some CA glue so that the handle, make sure the handle stays on there and doesn't come off. It's great for attaching different types of materials like that metal hammerhead to the wood or to magnets to wood like you see here in the router stations. I also use CA glue to help hold down T-track like you see here. It's just a good bonding agent to actually help the screws so that it gets a little extra grip so that these clamps and things don't pull that out of there as easily. Have you ever been routing a piece of furniture or a project and it breaks off like this? If you're close to the finished project or you've already got everything glued and screwed together and that happens, you're gonna be upset. And this is one of the perfect uses for CA glue. Of course, you could wood glue that back together, but CA glue will do it much faster. In an application like this, what I would do is take this clear. You don't want to pick up on it because you don't want it to come off. We're trying to repair this. I would use medium. I would put a little bit of medium on both sides. Make sure it gets under there. Then I would just take a piece of tape and tape that back down until it dries. Once that's dry, be careful not to get it on your fingers, or if you do get it on your fingers, don't touch them together. I'll let that dry and then I will sand any excess off and that piece is bonded back together. Now you can barely see that crack there. You're not gonna get that off of there without breaking the wood again. If you're interested in any of these products, there'll be links in the description below for you to go check these out for yourself. CA glue comes in 3 different thicknesses or viscosities. It comes in thin, medium, and thick. The 2 most common that I use in the shop are medium and thick. And if you got CA glue, you're gonna wanna pick up some accelerator. They got it in a pump spray and they got it in an aerosol can. It's the exact same thing, just depends on how you want to apply it. Starbond was kind enough to give a discount to my viewers. I'll put that discount code in the description below next to those links. You can go check this stuff out for yourself. The number 1 thing I use the CA glue for in the shop is filling knot holes. What's really great about Starbond is they have 3 different colors to choose from: brown, black, or clear. I like to use brown on walnut, especially in knot holes and things like that. As you can see, we got a little knot hole there and a couple little imperfections around that. If you're making a piece of furniture or a product and you want to fill that up so that that's not showing, it doesn't bust out later, you're gonna solidify it with that brown. I always overfill because you can sand that back flat. So let it seep into that crack. Now that medium will dry in about 15 to 20 seconds. However, if you've got accelerator and you spray it on there, you're talking 3 to 5 seconds and it's gonna be dry and you can work with it. What you'll notice is it'll seep down in there and dry and you're still gonna be left with an indentation. So what I like to do is put that first coat in there and then let that dry, and then we'll come back with a second application so that we can actually fill up that void. It takes very little of this accelerator, just a couple little spritz and you're good. Now I've got that completely filled and sanded, and this is Odie's oil. If I was putting a finish on that, it's gonna blend in really well. You can't even tell that there was ever a hole in that knot. You can see where I filled it, but only because you know it's there. You wouldn't, if you just walked up and saw that, you wouldn't know that there was a void there at some point. And these cracks that were over here, we've sealed those, we've solidified those now, and it's not gonna break and split on you later. Now in filling voids in your wood, doesn't matter if it's going to be holes or knots or anything, you need to make sure that they don't go all the way through and through. Like on this ambrosia, you see these 3 pinholes here. If you flip it over, they come all the way through the other side. What you wanna do is take a piece of painter's tape and just tape one side so that it doesn't flow out the bottom. Here we're gonna use black because these holes are a lot darker. You could use brown or whatever color you wanted here. And I always like to fill holes and knots with the medium. Typically when a hole goes all the way through like that, or a deep knot or a big hole, you're gonna wanna fill it a little at a time, and don't go real heavy on your accelerator. If you spray a whole bunch of accelerator on a whole bunch of glue, it's going to bubble up and give you this crystallized look, and it's not gonna look real good. That's what black looks like when it's filled. On the back side, you can see where it's actually coming through on that glue. It's actually still a little damp on this side, so what you would need to do is activate that and then you would refill anything you need. The number 4 thing I use CA glue for in the wood shop is filling nail holes. So like when you're putting on trim on a piece of furniture, or when I put on trim to hide the plywood edge, I'll use brad nails, sometimes pin nails. Especially if I'm going to paint the piece, I'm going to fill that with CA glue versus wood filler. So if I put a brad nail in something, it leaves that dip or that divot. It doesn't really matter what color you're going to use on something like that if you're going to be painting. Once you sand that flat, you'll never know that that brad nail was even there. The problem with wood filler is it shrinks and cracks and things like that over time, especially the bigger the hole is. If you're using a bigger nail, or if you just got a imperfection in the wood and you're trying to fill that up, when you use wood filler, a lot of times it shrinks and cracks as it dries. I don't care for it. CA glue works much better in that application. The number 5 use I use CA glue for is filling cracks in wood, especially when you get into hardwoods like walnut and things. You'll get some imperfections in there. Although it's still a usable piece of wood, you don't want to waste it, but you do want to fill up those cracks. But you can see here we got a pretty good crack. And you would just start filling a little at a time and let that dry on the first coat, put a second coat on until the whole crack is filled up. And then you can mill this and use it just like you normally would on anything else. Now you'll notice this is the section we didn't fill, and then this is the section we did fill. That's perfectly flush all the way down, and we've stopped that crack. It's not going to be continue to split on down through there. We can cut this, mill this now, use it however we're going to do it. Another great use for CA glue is to basically create yourself some double stick tape. Put painter's tape on both of the pieces you want to stick together. This is great for templates and things like that. You'll put the CA glue on the tape itself on one piece of tape, and you'll spray activator on the other piece of tape. Now you can use your router table and a flush trim bit to go around this template, or however you need to do that. Just make sure it's good and stuck. Once you're done with that, you can just peel these 2 pieces apart, and you're left with the tape. These 2 pieces didn't bond to each other. Only the 2 pieces of tape bonded together, so you got double stick tape. If you watch this workbench build or the router table build, you know that I also use CA glue to temporarily stick those drawer faces on until I can get screws on there. It works perfect for that. That way you can get everything positioned, put a little CA glue on one side, activator on the other, touch those 2 pieces together, and it sticks. So I'm able to position those drawer faces on really easily until I can get them permanently attached. So another use for CA glue, I've heard a lot of people use it to solidify the screw holes in MDF. Now thin CA glue is like water. It is thin, thin. So what that does is it soaks down into the fibers of MDF, which is just basically compressed sawdust, and it helps solidify that so that this doesn't break and tear out as easily. And talking about solidifying wood, this is spalted tamarind. Any of this spalted type wood is basically, it's nearly rotten. It's really, really soft wood. You can see just the figure on this spalted tamarind is just beautiful. I actually made a mallet out of this Spartan mallet you see here. But a great way to solidify that or to help strengthen that, you can take the thin CA glue, and since it's like water, now it will darken the wood. So I'm able to flake this off here. You see that dust and the pieces coming up really easily. Down here, not so much. Not only is it duct tape for the shop, it's also duct tape for the home. I've used it in tons of things inside the house. I've fixed drawers where the drawer faces come off. I've actually used it to glue up feet back on this big giant slab of marble my wife uses to roll dough and things like that out on. All kinds of minor repairs around the house, this stuff works great for. If you don't have any CA glue and you've never used it before, what I would highly recommend you doing is picking up a brown, a black, and a clear in medium, and then picking up the most used color you think you'll need, whether that be clear, brown, or black in thick. The thin has its applications, as you saw, to solidify things, but for the most part, medium and thick, if you're filling cracks and voids, that's what you're gonna need. It really is the duct tape of the woodworking shop. After you're done watching this video, you may throw a bottle of CA glue in your truck to go along with your duct tape. I think every Southern person has duct tape in the truck, right? Hey, if you want more woodworking tips and tricks, click that box right there. It's going to take you to the next video. Click in that box, get you that big old virtual fist bump. Also, another one of my favorite videos right there.